Well, I mean, to hold another team to no touchdown, and now I think it's 10 points in the last 3 weeks. How just proud are you guys of the defensive effort you've had the last few
Yeah,
weeks?
super proud. I think it's a testament to how hard we work all week and how detailed we are all week. You know, a lot of people don't see guys staying late working on watching film, and so they can make those plays on Saturday. And Coach Howe has done a great job putting us in positions to be successful over and over again. So, yeah.
And the backups, to be able to hold them when they got to I think the 8-yard line on first down. Just how are you guys able to, like, everybody on the unit able to kind of just hold firm and not let them get in the end zone the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think it's just our mentality. Coach Howe is, he presses on us. Our saying is swarm, so everyone's flying to the ball. It's a mentality of, making sure we don't give anything for free, and we're going to hit and play physical and play fast, and it doesn't matter who's in the game. And we prepare even our third string guys prepare like starters. So we always say, the standard doesn't drop. So it doesn't matter who's in the game, you got to play hard. So
I specifically remember you telling us during spring ball that because your D-line's so experienced, you're just honing in the details. For now, like, we've just seen play in, play out, how elite you guys are. Just what's that like now that it's all put together and you guys have games under your belt and you're playing at such an elite clip?
Yeah, it's super fun. I think it just, like you were saying, it just shows like we're dialing it in for even more than we were before, and building off experience makes things a lot better. And it's been really fun to see guys have success, and especially guys that have been working hard, with right by my side for the last 5 years. So really fun and really cool to see the guys, having success and doing what we do. So.
You guys have caused a lot of turnovers the last 2 games. Is that something that was made a key point in practice going into Big Sky play, or just kind of the way the ball's been bouncing the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, we felt like against Mercyhurst we didn't get the ball back as much as we wanted to. We did have the strip sack, but like we just weren't setting our offense up great to go put points on the board. And so this last week we made a really strong point of making sure we get takeaways, make sure we're giving the ball back to the offense in a position where they can score. And so we definitely made it a point of interest going into this week, but yeah, we're gonna make it a point this week too. So.
After the game, Jace talked about everybody doing their 111. Is that like any different on the road, like trying to communicate? It's a little bit harder.
I think that I don't know. I feel like doing your 111th is something that doesn't matter where you're at, and even when you're on the road, you got to do it even more. So that's where it becomes even more important, is doing your 111th, because you don't have the home crowd to pick up some of that slack of energy or not letting momentum build against us. So we got to make sure we're doing our 111th every play and start hot and start fast. So yeah.
NAU's pretty experienced for a conference that saw a lot of turnover this offseason. Ty Pennington's playing at a really good level as well. Just what stands out most about them as you guys go face a ranked team on the road?
Yeah, we really just kind of started looking at them this morning, so haven't really dove super deep into them yet. But just a talented group, experienced group, like you said. They play hard, they play fast. Really detailed in what they do on the offensive side of the ball. So it's going to be a good test for us to see how well we can do our 111th and how well we can execute at a high level and read our keys and do our job. So
What do you remember most from the 2022 win there?
That it's high elevation and it's hard to breathe. But we're getting ahead of it this week, and a lot of us have been there before. We're there in 22, so we kind of know what's coming, and more prepared on getting ourselves and our bodies ready to go for playing at that elevation.
Yeah, is there anything specifically you can do to
sleep and hydration? That's kind of what I found. So gonna make sure we're getting to bed on time and drinking a lot of water. So
what's the just playing in a dome, just how unique is that? I know there's a few in this conference, you guys have experience with it, but what stands out most about a dome?
Yeah, it's cool. I think it's a little bit louder, just the echoes and all there, and they also, I think they do a light show in there, which is kind of fun. So yeah, it's just different experience, different environment. Try not to worry too much about the environment, just focus on doing my 111th, and at the end of the day, we're just playing the same game we always do. So yeah.
Making that for you as a leader, how does it kind of like going on the road after being at home for like a month straight, like 4 games straight, and that first road game being in such a crazy environment, like trying to preach those younger guys like to not make it too much of a thing?
Yeah, so I think just having that road game at the beginning of the year at Oregon, I think it really gave the young guys a good glimpse of that's probably one of the more intense environments we're going to be in all year long. So having that experience under their belt, it's good. And then going into this week, just keep pressing on them. Don't let the moment be too big, and stick with your guys. Don't let the crowd get to you. We got our guys, and that's all we need. So.
making the list for the Campbell Trophy. I guess any thoughts on that honor?
Yeah, just super excited. I'm really honored for it. I try and take my academics really seriously, and make sure I'm setting myself up for life after football at some point. That's coming faster than I think. So just making sure that doing everything to the best of my ability, and just a really great honor, and really grateful for that. So.
And Brody's been in that mix before. I guess just what to say about maybe Montana State getting a couple guys in recent years on there.
Yeah, I think it just shows like what we're about, and how we take our business seriously, and we do everything to the best of our abilities, and try to make sure that at the end of the day, everything is how you do anything is how you do everything. So just taking that mindset in everything we do, and making sure we're being as successful as possible. So.
Seems like you guys the D ends really get beat on the edge. Like you guys set the edge pretty well. Is that something you guys have noticed or stressed extra this season?
Well, we always say, everything starts the same for us, and we call it a blunt technique, but basically just meaning setting that edge. And, everything starts with that, your first steps. And if we can get the tackles, getting on that, then that sets up everything else, all of our other movements. So just, you got to make sure you start the game off right, and get hard edges set, turn all of our helps inside. So turning it back inside is the main point. But yeah, we try and make a point of that for sure. So.
How do you feel like Hunter has played this season?
Awesome. He's really stepped into his role, and he's done an amazing job. And he did a good job last year too. It's just kind of hard when you got Brody Creeby in front of you, but he's every deserving of everything he's got so far, and he's been playing great. And I'm really excited to see all his hard work pay off. So.
Also, just a guy like Paul, right? I guess how do you feel like not only this season, but ever since taking over from Blake last year, right? How he's grown kind of in recent years.
Yeah, I think he just, Paul's a guy who just puts his head down and works, and he doesn't worry about, all the other noise. And, he's really intentional about getting better every single day and trying to find that extra 1% that he can get better every single day. So it's been really fun to see him have success and continue to grow as a player and as a person and a leader. So.
Yeah, I guess speaking of that, how has he been a leader, especially since getting the 41 and captain and all that?
He's done a great job. He gets guys fired up, and he leads by example. He always does what he's supposed to do. He always works hard in the weight room. He's first in line in drills. He really just leads by example. And then when on game day he's getting guys fired up. So guys gravitate to him, and it's pretty easy to gravitate towards a guy like that. So.
All right, thanks, Ken.